All right, hey everyone, Vito here from MoreBeer, and I'm sitting with Matt Sager, the head brewer at Danville Brewing, and we're gonna talk double IPA.
Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having us out here.
Always good to see you.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about Danville Brewing.
All right, well, we've been around for almost exactly 5 years. Opened in late 2016. First brewery in Danville. Awesome. We're in the old Danville Hotel. This whole build out was made specifically for the brewery. And we have a 10-barrel system. We have a full kitchen, full bar, 20 tap handles. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've been here since the beginning, so it's been a ride. It's been a fun ride.
I've been a fan since the beginning too. You've been making great beer. So speaking of great beer, I want to talk to you today about Chux, your double IPA, which I understand you won a medal at GABF. Congratulations!
Yeah, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about winning a medal, about that.
Oh yeah, it was. I don't mean to sound woo-woo about it, but it was magical.
Yeah.
You know, first year out of the gate, we won a bronze medal for Chux.
That was your first time entering a competition.
In a professional setting. I'd entered 5 beers, and the first 4 had come and gone. I didn't win. I'm thinking, all right, there's over 200 entries in the Chux category.
Yeah, double IPA is a hard category.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't. Well, they announced Chux, right? They announced Danville Brewing Chux, and at first, my first thought was, all right, there's somebody else here.
Yeah, there's another Danville Brewing.
There's another Danville Brewing that named a beer Chux, so that can't be us. And sure enough, it was so cool to not only go up on stage and shake Charlie Papazian's hand and get that medal, but also to have my wife with me. She went up on stage with me. And for that beer in particular, it was special for this company too, because the beer is named after Chuck Maida, who's our owner's dad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, tell us a little bit about the beer itself, the history of the name.
Yeah. So Chuck was driving force behind Maida Distribution, a beer distribution company, and it was Marcus Maida's father, and he passed away, and it was really important for him to have a mark that he's part of the DNA of this company, right? And Marcus really wanted to name our double IPA Chux after Chuck Maida. So I was working on recipes, and of course, when you're brewing a double IPA, the first thing that comes to mind is the forefather of double IPAs, and that's Russian River, Pliny the Elder, right? But how are you going to do that to where you make your own mark on the style, right? And that's kind of how I started with that beer. Is I love Russian River, I love Pliny, but I don't want to make Pliny, right? I don't want to make a clone. So. That's where Chux came about.
That's the fun and thrill of brewing is trying stuff new, doing that. So tell me a little bit about this beer, this iteration, I guess,
Sure.
of Chux and some of the grain, hops.
Right. Well, the stamp of all my beers, including this one, is dryness. Awesome. I've never been a big fan of malt bombs. And there are a lot of double IPAs out there that are malt bombs, and that's fine. A lot of people enjoy that. But for this, as well as most of my beers, it's bone dry. So the malt bill consists of mainly raw 2-row, a little Vienna malt because I like that little interplay of toastiness, and it adds just the amount of color that I want. And then to dry it out even further, obviously I'm using corn sugar.
A little dextrose. Okay.
A little dextrose to dry it out.
Yeah.
So we typically start at probably 10. I don't remember the
OG.
The OG.
What did it finish at?
1008.
1008.
Yeah,
okay.
finishes
Nice
at 1008, so nice and dry. And that's a good template to let the hop shine, because that's where this beer, you know, really goes above and beyond. Is this style is letting the hop shine. This is a hop bomb. It's a celebration of hops, really.
Speaking of hops, what hops are in this one?
Okay, so I start off with a bittering edition of Magnum.
60-minute edition?
60-minute edition, and then I do a 5-minute edition of Citra and Centennial.
Okay.
And then a whirlpool of Citra and Mosaic. Dry hopped at about 4.5 pounds per barrel.
Okay.
And for the dry hop, for what I've been using for about the past 6 months or so, is Citra, Mosaic, and Strata.
Oh,
I love that dank, that overripe fruit that the Strata brings to the game. Especially, and I always call Mosaic sort of a filthy hop. If ever I have a beer that is tasting, an IPA that's tasting a little too clean, I'm like, let's filth this up a little bit and throw some Mosaic in there.
Some of that berry character.
Yeah. And I think that's what you get in this. You get a little bit of blueberry, you get some overripe tropical fruit, you get some passion fruit. Yeah. And so that the hops, that danky hop hits you right up front, and then you get that dry, smooth, you know, character going down, begging you for more, right?
Yeah, it makes you want to take another sip. Yeah, it's beautiful. So what are some tips on brewing DIPA? We talked about the ingredients. What are some some mash temperature, things like that? Yeah,
so I'm mashing fairly low. I'm at about 148, 149.
Okay.
In the mash.
Hence the super dry. Yeah.
Right. And we mash for 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Make sure that conversion is completely done, and boil for about an hour. But I'm also doing a first wort hop. I really love
I love that too,
the character, the bitterness character the first wort hop brings to the game. And then, of course, the sugar, the corn sugar. It lightens the load while bumping up the alcohol that you need to have for this style. You're not using all malt, so it's not going to be like I said before, a malt bomb. And I'm not using caramel malt in this. And I found with caramel malt, especially with big IPAs, as it ages, that really starts the staling character faster, you know?
Yeah, that crystal malt for sure. Yeah, crystal caramel. Yep.
Yeah, the hops drop out, and then all you get is that sweet crystal caramel character. And I think by eliminating the caramel malt altogether, you end up with a beer a really nice dry beer that lasts longer. That you can enjoy for, at least a couple months before you brew the next one, if it lasts that long.
Yeah, right. They usually go quicker than that. I remember Mike Tasty, a good friend of ours. He was a proponent of that, of like, why are you putting crystal malt in that beer? And we were homebrewing. I remember that, and it was like, once you start doing that, and around that time, 2010, 2009, the styles were shifting to that, a little drier, kind of pulling out that maltiness And crystal malt, even at like 2 to 5%, you could taste it.
You can. And in the beginning, I was throwing a little bit of Crystal 40.
Yep.
But then I thought, well, how else can I add color without the deep crystal malt caramel flavor? And that's where I came up with throwing the Vienna in there. And it really works. I love the toastiness that it brings without bringing that toffee flavor. That gets in the way. I find that toffee gets in the way of the hops.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. This is a great beer, man.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Cheers to you.
So Matt, I know you started homebrewing. I met you through homebrewing.
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit about that. It was funny, on the way out here today, I saw had a Facebook memory pop up. 10 years ago, I think today, we were homebrewing together.
We sure were.
So tell me a little bit about your homebrewing experience.
Yeah, I started homebrewing back in the late 90s and transitioned that into a professional career by attending the UC Davis Master Brewer program. And So yeah, I was homebrewing for about 5 years prior to that, and I was in the medical field, didn't want to do that anymore. And my wife was like, well, go to UC Davis. We were living in Sacramento at the time, so did that. And then my first job was at Great Basin Brewing in Reno.
Oh, Reno, yeah.
Yeah, worked there for 3.5 years and loved it there. I'll always be a big proponent of that brewery. And then we moved back to the Bay Area, and that was my between jobs, I was a stay-at-home dad. That was my opportunity to get back into homebrewing again and kind of go back to the roots, right? Because when you're a professional brewer, you do very little homebrewing, right? And you, I wouldn't say you lose the passion, because I still have the passion to brew, but there's something lost when you're not homebrewing anymore, right?
Yep.
And it was great, and I entered couple beers into competitions and won with those and joined Doe's. That's where I met you at the Doe's Homebrew Club in Walnut Creek. And the rest is history.
MoreBeer was right there, right in Concord.
Right down the street from my house. And that's where I met all the great people at MoreBeer. And it's been a fun ride. And then I started working at Creek Monkey in Martinez. They had a little brew system downstairs. It was a MoreBeer homebrew system, really, the 20-gallon thing. But they were looking to upgrade and go to the next level, so they asked me to come along. And
so speaking of homebrew, I remember homebrewing with you at your house, and you had one of the most awesome homebrew systems I can remember. The brew shed and MoreBeer brew sculpture. Tell me a little bit about your homebrew setup.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I had a 20-gallon system from MoreBeer, the flat
lowrider.
I had one of those, and I had two 20-gallon conicals.
Yeah, the ultimate conicals.
Yeah, and a 10-gallon, and I was brewing a lot of beer, probably more than I could consume between my wife and I.
Yeah, that's the fun of it, though. Right?
But I had you over multiple times to brew with me.
That was
at home.
Awesome setup. I loved brewing on it, and that's what got me to buy a MoreBeer brew sculpture as well. Brewing on that, it was just awesome system.
Yeah, and you can brew just as great beer in a bucket on the stove, but I felt like brewing on that kind of brought me back to when I was brewing.
Closer to a commercial system. Three vessel, you've got, all the
exactly.
bells and whistles. So congratulations again on the medal. That's awesome.
Thanks, man.
We're going to be making, or MoreBeer is going to be making a Chux double IPA kit. So tell us a little bit about, we're excited to do the kit. Tell us a little bit about, the kit, the recipe, your brewing philosophy. Let us know about that.
And I'm so excited to offer this kit up. The philosophy behind Chux is that it's a dry, old school IPA with a little bit of new school in there. You got the Strata hops that dank it up, and it's in spite of its 8% alcohol, it's crushable. We're already halfway through here, right? You know what? Homebrewers can play around with the dry hops, can play around with the ratios and the styles of hops too, and just because I'm using Mosaic, Strata, and Citra doesn't mean that that's the best combination there is. I love it. I love it the way it is.
And that's the fun of homebrewing, is experimentation, trying new stuff. Let's throw that hop in there. Let's add it up. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's kind of my philosophy on brewing in general. Is I really like the old school styles, putting sort of a new school twist on it, right? I don't know if you've seen our menu here, but I always try to have some old school classic styles. We have our hazy IPAs and cold IPA, just brewed a cold IPA. We have a blonde, but I also like to have something that I like to call brewer's beers. A brewer comes in here, they're going to respect the fact that we have a smoked Helles, right?
You don't...
or Dunkelweizen, you know, and those are my favorite beers. those old German styles. And
yeah, it's always nice to, when you visit a brewery, see a classic style on, and yeah, like you said, the people that know and love those styles are going to be stoked to see that there. Yeah. All right, Matt, thanks again for having us. This has been awesome. I'm going to go with some rapid fire questions for you here.
Before you do that,
there you go.
All right.
The first one I'd like to go with is, what are your tips for a new brewer, somebody who's just starting off on homebrewing? What is the best advice you can give to them?
Fermentation control.
Yes.
Fermentation temperature. One thing I learned very early on is anybody can make sugar.
Yep.
Any monkey can make wort. And yeah, you need some background, whether it's reading books or talking to brewers to come up with a good recipe. But when it comes to fermentation, that will either save your beer or kill your beer. And you want to make sure that you have a firm control on fermentation control, whether that's in a fridge with a fermentation, with a temp control. But I truly believe that fermenting your beer in a closet,
just letting it go.
Maybe
if you're using Quebec yeast, great. But yeah, I totally agree. Brewers make wort, yeast make beer. So yeah, make sure they're in a happy working environment.
Exactly. And to your point, I've always said that brewers are just yeast ranchers.
Yep.
We just make food for yeast.
Yep.
The yeast makes the beer.
Fermentation control is the best.
Yeah.
All right, next one. I like to refer to this as desert island beer. What is the one style? If you could only drink one style of beer for the rest of your life, what is that?
Orval.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Belgian Pale Ale.
Belgian Pale Ale.
Ah, interesting.
I was in Belgium 3 years ago, and we visited the Orval Abbey.
And it's way different fresh at the source than what we get here in the United States because it's had time to age.
Yeah.
The Brett really starts to come out, right?
Yeah, and only there you can get the Orval Green, which is the super fresh, and it is more hoppy than it is anything else. You really get the hops coming out in that. And then as it ages, as the Brett kicks in, and it's evolving from where it is at the source to 5 years down the line, it's going to taste completely different. I love that beer, and if I had one beer to drink forever, it'd be Belgian Pale, particularly Orval.
Yeah. Good answer. Another question for you. All right, here's there's a big divide in brewing, and I like both. But for you, West Coast IPA or hazy IPA?
West Coast all day long.
West Coast all. Why do you like West Coast, other than you being here in California?
Yeah. Well, I sometimes I find that hazy IPAs, once you get halfway through the glass, it starts to become a chore to finish it. I can kill a pint of West Coast easy.
The dryness,
yeah. That being said, I've had some really, really good hazy IPAs. We brew some really good hazy IPAs. But it's the dryness, and it's the emphasis on hops. I feel like hazy IPAs is more of an emphasis on yeast character and that juicy, which is great. I like that,
and I see why they're so popular. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, for my palate, I'm drinking a West Coast all day long.
Yeah, I tend to agree. That's probably my favorite as well.
Yeah.
All right, here's another one for you. If you could sit and do like we're doing, have a beer discussion about a style, beer making, whatever, ingredients with one other person, dead or alive, who would it be? And what would you talk about?
Boy, so Michael Jackson, before he died, visited the brewery that I used to work at, Great Basin Brewing.
Okay.
And he had a lot to say about our Harvest Ale and how it
tastes. Is that a wet hop beer or fresh hop?
No, it's actually a beer that we use local harvested ingredients.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, and he described it as Nevada in a glass.
Oh wow,
pretty cool.
The terroir of Nevada.
Yeah, and I'd love to sit and talk with him about what that meant. What that meant to him, and how that can be translated, to other locales, and I would love to do an East Bay in a glass sort of beer.
Well, Matt, thanks for having us here. This has been great. The beer is amazing. I can't wait to have the recipe kit. Thanks.
We're down to the bottom of the glass.
Yeah, man, I'm feeling great. I love this double IPA. Cheers. Thanks for having us.
Cheers.